My name is Emily and I'm a children's zookeeper here at Franklin Park Zoo. And this morning we are here with one of our red pandas, Gimli. And also in the background we have our muntjac Sokka. So like I said, this is Gimli. He's our 2-year-old male red panda. We actually have 3 red pandas total at Franklin Park Zoo. We have Gimli and 2 females. Our females are Bon Lee and Nisha, and they are about 4 years old. The cool thing about these guys is they're actually 2 different subspecies we have here at the zoo, so we're very lucky. Gimli, I'm going to probably pronounce this Fulgens subspecies. They're typically a little smaller and a little lighter in color. And then Bon Lee and Nisha are the Aloris Fulgens refulgens subspecies, and they're typically darker and larger. Our one female, Nisha, is a very good example of this. She's very dark orange and also a little bit on the bigger side. So these guys, even though they do have the name panda, they are not related to the giant panda in any way. Panda just means bamboo eater. So these guys, like the giant panda, do eat majority bamboo. That makes up about 98% of their diet. Unlike the giant panda though, they're only going to eat the leaves off the stalk, whereas giant pandas typically will eat stalk and all. Another similarity they do have with the giant panda, besides their name, is they have something called the pseudo thumb. And it's basically just a modification of their wrist bone, and it allows them to grasp things like bamboo, and it just makes it easier for them to eat that. And like I said, majority of their diet is bamboo, so here at the zoo they get free choice of bamboo all the time. Now that it's getting nice and cold outside, which the pandas love, Gimli here is eating a lot of bamboo. He, on average, we kind of keep a record of it, is eating about 7 to 8 stalks a day. The girls are probably a little bit behind him, and they're only eating about 3 to 4 stalks on average a day. Also here at the zoo, we feed them something called leaf eater biscuits, and that's made for any animal that eats leaves, and it's just good to help give them any more vitamins and nutrients that they may need. And he also gets apples as part of his daily diet. Right now though, he's snacking on grapes, which is one of his favorite treats. And we only use grapes for training purposes and stuff like this, but he definitely does love them. They're just a bit too sugary to be in his constant diet. In the wild, these guys they are considered omnivores, even though a large portion of their diet is just that bamboo. In the wild, they would eat plants, seeds, small fruits, and occasionally small mammals like birds and other things. Ours are typically not into the meat here. We have offered it occasionally as enrichment, but they don't really seem that interested. Gimli's getting a little bit distracted by our cranes making some noise. Yeah, and so these guys, now that, like I said, it's getting colder, these guys are built for the cold. As you can probably see, Gimli is extremely fluffy, and that helps him keep warm in the winter time. These guys are from sort of the Himalayan region, so they're used to the cold. They have also those long tails that they can wrap around themselves to help keep them warm. And they have fur on the bottom of their feet to help them kind of walk on the snow. And these guys also can do a very cool thing. When it's extremely cold outside, they can lower their metabolic rate and they essentially become dormant, which helps them conserve a lot of energy. And then they will raise it up again to help find food. So these guys are definitely excited that winter is here and they are ready for it. These guys are also what we call arboreal. So that means they spend most of their time in the trees, which is why this exhibit is very well perched for them to climb up high. And if you've ever come see them during napping during the day, they typically like to sleep at the top of the trees. These guys are also very well equipped for that. They have those long tails, like I said earlier. It helps them kind of keep their balance as they're climbing. They also have a really cool adaptation with their ankles that makes them very flexible, and it allows them to climb head first down tree trunks without tumbling down, which is pretty cool and helpful for these guys. Yeah, so they're very cool. They also do have those sharp nails, which Gimli is you can kind of see right down here, and that also helps keep a good grip on the logs that these guys have.
So for all those watching, you can put your questions in the chat and we'll do our best throughout this presentation to answer those. So we don't have any right now.
Okay. So even though we do have, like I said, 3 total red pandas at the zoo, they do not share space, Gimli and his 2 female counterparts. That is partially because they are 2 separate subspecies, so we wouldn't want them to breed. And also in the wild, pandas are actually solitary animals. They would only come together to mate, and then the males would go off and the females would raise their cubs. Their cubs would probably stay with mom until they're about 1 year old. That's when they're considered fully grown. They're considered sexually mature at about 18 months. But it is pretty common in zoos to see sort of female pairs together like that. But these guys, what's nice for them is they rotate on exhibit every other day. And red pandas are very scent oriented, so occasionally if you come visit them, you might see them wiggling their hips back and forth. And that means they're actually scent marking. They have glands back there, and it drops a little bit of liquid to kind of help them mark their territory. And so it's cool for these guys because when they rotate on and off exhibit, they can smell each other and they'll all go around scent marking. So it's a very nice form of enrichment for these guys because they are so scent oriented, and it allows them to smell other red pandas with them rotating without actually being with them.
So we have a question from Liz. Do they like to live high in the trees or in some type of nest? And do they use their tails for anything?
So that's a great question. They do prefer to be high in the trees. The moms, when they are going to give birth to cubs, will sort of make nests in hollowed out tree trunks. And they will occasionally come down, but they're definitely more comfortable sort of sleeping and spending majority of their time in the trees. And they use their tails for two things. One of it is for balance, so they're nice and long typically, so when they're walking across tree trunks, it kind of helps them keep balance. And they also will very cutely use it as a blanket in the colder temperatures, so they'll wrap it around themselves to help keep warm. So it's a dual adaptation for those guys.
Very cool. I'm just wondering about the red panda conservation status.
So these guys are considered threatened and endangered. Unfortunately, one of their biggest problems is what we call habitat fragmentation. So that's basically when developments of farmland or human construction kind of divides their habitat, their natural habitat, in half, and it prevents red pandas from finding each other and coming together to mate. So that's one of their biggest threats. They do also have some issues with poaching. Like I said earlier, they do have this very nice, very beautiful, fluffy coat, and they are occasionally hunted for it for different hats and stuff in their native region.
So Emily is showing that there's no more treats left in there, and Gimli is wondering if there's any else. So again, we have like probably 1 more minute, so if you have any other questions, we can answer those now. So what does Gimli usually get for enrichment here?
That's a great question. So he, like I said, does have that natural enrichment of just getting to follow the girls on exhibit and scent marking. He does get a variety of different toys. So in the wild, they would spend a lot of their time sort of foraging for food. So we try to mimic that as best we can with what we call puzzle feeders here. So over there, I stuffed some of their bamboo in a jolly ball, like a jolly toy with holes in it to kind of make him work for it a little bit. We'll give them boxes and stuff and put different treats and food in it. So anything that kind of has to make him work for his food a little bit more, he kind of likes that. Anything with food, he enjoys.
So we had one question from John. What was in the red cup?
The red cup, so we use these, they're kind of like training pouches. They can clip on, and there's just a bunch of different grapes. Grapes are his favorite treat, and we use them for training purposes and to sort of keep him occupied and make him easier to see for stuff like this.
And then one last question. Can Gimli learn any tricks?
That's actually a great question. So Gimli, with all of our animals here at the zoo, do a lot of basic husbandry training with these guys. So he's a little young, so he's still learning some of the behaviors that he needs, but he already knows a decent amount. So he is scale trained. Every month we weigh all of our animals here at Children's Zoo, and he knows that he's supposed to come down and get on the scale, which he does very well. He also is what we call hip injection trained. So in our back holding area, we have a little station that they know they're supposed to come down and stand on. And this allows us to get a good look at him, and it allows us to sort of feel him, and what we call a body condition score, which just gives us a better look besides his weight on how heavy or how light he is, if he's too fat, too skinny. And he also is trained to get injections, which just helps us with his daily care. It helps us give him vaccines, and it just lessens the stress on him during his normal vet stuff.
Great. Well, that is all the time we have for today. So thank you everyone for coming. And if you want to say bye.
Bye everyone. Thank you for coming.